It's December, and that means Christmas. Getting together with your loved ones to celebrate the birth of our Lord, to the reminder that your family is very, very important. You know what else is important? Nick Cage movies. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's hurting himself with his rambunctious behavior. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
They got a name for people like you, Adam. That name is called recidivism.
And you know his jammies have Yoda and shit on them. Bruce Leslie.
If you're a good boy all year, St. Nicholas Cage will bring you a dinosaur bone.
Oh, man. What would you leave out for Nick Cage if Nick Cage was Santa Claus?
Action Comics #2.
A vape pen.
Something that he can sell. So he's like, I'm still in a lot of tax problems, guys. Really?
He's out, though, right? He's out now.
He's got to be at this point, I would hope. He's done his time, both literally and physically. You know, it's just like he's done it all at this point. He's just like, listen, have I not given you everything? But we're very thankful about Nicolas Cage here, because in December we're going to start yet another series. This series we're going to be calling St. Nicholas Cage, the Christmas movies of Nick Cage. And sure, this week's movie only has 4 minutes worth of Christmas in it, but you got to start somewhere. And we don't want everybody to get like the Christmas bends. So we're going to just ease you into Christmas nicely. No one needs to die here. And we actually needed a really good movie to kick off December. So we chose Raising Arizona from 1987, written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. And this is going to be a good time. I'm excited. I'm so happy when I think it was Matt Vandiver like texted or somebody said that was like, hey, the last 5 minutes there's Christmas in Raising Arizona. We were like, yes.
Thank
God.
Nothing says holidays like the Arizona desert.
Like a 2-minute scene at the very end of the movie that is a flash forward dream sequence.
Let's be fair, it's probably Thanksgiving.
No, there's a Christmas tree and everything.
They do, because he opens up Christmas presents and then just goes, it's from another.
The kid gets a football. Yeah,
perfect. I thought it was the Thanksgiving gifts like normal people.
You know,
yeah, normal people give gifts for Thanksgiving. What's wrong with you?
Gather around the cornucopia, kids. It's time to open presents. Is that what they're doing over at your house, Chris? First, it's like, I don't know.
What did the great gobbler bring you this year?
If you if you are looking for, dear podcast listener, if you are listening to this and you want like a fair-minded review of Raising Arizona, you are not going to get that from me. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like top 5 favorite movies of all time, Raising Arizona. I think that it is singular. I think that it is one of the greatest movies ever made. So go in knowing that about Raising Arizona with me.
You will find no quarter here, because we are all on that train. And if you're not, I'm shocked. I don't know what to think of it, but we all can't be perfect.
It was the most quotable movie in my school until Wayne's World came out. So take that for what it's worth.
That's not too shabby. Before we get into all that, we do want to say a giant thank you to the people who support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. You get a pre-show, post-show, and Dinger Zone. Speaking of Dinger Zone and the Coens, we did our top 5 Coen Brothers movies for Dinger Zone, and quite an interesting selection. Bruce pulled a fast one on us on a couple of points, so we were just like, buh? So hopefully you guys can go check that out. And here's great news. Great news for everybody. If you are in the $10 and up level over there, patreon.com/HMP, not only do you get all the great things that we talked about previously, your stickers will be in the mail by the end of this week. So we're going to be sending those out to you guys. If you haven't, shoot me your mailing address over on Patreon, and we'll get those out here for you. And I'll send a little invites and all that kind of good stuff. So, and if you stay at that $10 level there and everything, I am going to design a new sticker every month. And we're going to put that out and just have a little something else extra for you if indeed you like this program. And we thank you guys so much for that. And if you can't do that, just, review us on iTunes. Drop over to our YouTube page where not only do we have this show up, I'm putting movies out. I'm unboxing DVDs. I'm reviewing movies. I am showing you how to make popcorn the actual proper way that the rest of the internet refuses to actually tell you for some weird reason. I have cracked that code for you. Fear not. Links for all that are in the show notes and everything. So thank you so much. Patreon.com/HMP.
And on your Facebook page, I put one of my favorite videos of all time when discussing that video. Your video.
Yes.
Which is the world's craziest video of Tom Cruise eating popcorn, being insane.
It's weird because not only so Tom Cruise in this video, if you've never seen it, is eating popcorn in like a house. It looks like a house. He's not in a movie theater.
There's no way that's his house. There's no way.
That's not his house for sure.
No.
But that is a house that he is in, but he's eating out of a movie theater bucket of popcorn. Like an actual like the bucket that you would have gotten from the cinemas, the paper the paper one and everything.
What movie did this run before?
I don't know.
Possible.
I don't know that it ran during
It was after Top Gun Maverick, but before Mission Impossible, the last one that hit the movie theater. It was like in between that time.
Gotcha.
Because they kept saying, remember, like at the time, everyone was like, "Well, Tom Cruise just saved movies again," with Top Gun Maverick. So he then became like the spokesman for movie theaters, seeing movies in movie theaters for a while. And so to appear like a normal human, they have him talking about how much he loves watching movies and eating popcorn, but he doesn't know how human beings work. So he's sitting in, I don't think that it's a house. I think that it's probably a business office, probably his agent's office. And he's sitting on a couch eating popcorn out of a movie theater popcorn bucket, saying how much he loves his popcorn and watching movies. And it is literally like watching an alien perform a human task. It is
he would have looked
strange.
more natural if he whipped out some chopsticks to do it with.
Yes, actually, he would. Yes.
The Adam Carolla story of Tom Cruise coming over to watch football is hilarious.
With the muffins?
Yeah, it's just like, who brings, and he brought his mom and muffins to football.
So good.
Because that's what you do. You bring your elderly mom and muffins.
I am a person. I am not a robot.
This is what we do, yeah? Very hard laughing, just trying to we're normal. You're normal. I'm normal. Why do you keep saying all these things? You're a nut job. But
Speaking
you know what?
Of muffins, how about that Holly Hunter is Ed?
All right, let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plot line for Raising Arizona. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. When a childless couple, an ex-con and ex-cop, decide to help themselves to one of another family's quintuplets, their lives become more complicated than they anticipated. Now, here's the thing. Another guy rewrote this, and I also stole this from IMDb, but he posted it up there, and I'm like, this is way better. Recidivist hold-up man H.I. McDonough and policewoman Edwina marry and then discover that they are unable to conceive a child. Desperate for a baby, the pair decide to kidnap one of the quintuplets from furniture tycoon Nathan, Arizona. The McDonoughs try to keep their crime secret while friends, co-workers, and the federal bounty hunter look to use Nathan Jr. for their own purposes. That was from Scott Renshaw, who I guess goes to Stanford or some such nonsense, because that's the email address that's attached to it.
I don't know what you're doing for a living, buddy, but you missed your calling.
Scott, you need to get over there at IMDb and start writing some of these log lines, because that's the story of this film. The other one, it's a vague recollection, I guess. It was somebody saw it like in 1987 and was just like, I think this is what this movie's about. Send.
Recidivism has a name.
This is written.
Name is high.
Written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, starring Nicolas Cage, Holly Hunter, Trey Wilson, John Goodman, William Forsythe, Sean McMurray, Randall Tex Cobb, and Francis McDormand. Sean and I have gone on record. We absolutely love this film. Bruce, you've said you've hated it to the nth degree and back. Defend yourself.
I love this movie. I just hadn't seen it in 30 years. It did not make my frequent rewatch list. So it was good fun rewatching it and seeing how accurate my memories were. They're pretty close. Most of my favorite lines that were drilled into my head were still there, even though I missed one that I really liked.
What's your new one?
What's
this
that?
movie?
What's the new one that you saw this time?
Oh, no,
that you
the
didn't
one
last
that
time?
I missed. Maybe I was looking at my phone or something, but the one where he says we got the F of B of I, the C of I of A, the city police, the county police. I kind of missed Nathan Senior's little speech there.
Right.
That was one I used to like to say every time we would lose our phone or our keys or something around the house and say, don't worry, I've called the F of B of I, the C of I of A, the county police, the city police. And Nobody thinks it's funny.
And see,
because
I'm a
they're
little
looking for
younger.
something they lost.
Being a little younger, we had the Tommy Lee Jones from
Yes.
Fugitive. That was our kind of like I'm
That's
running
what we
through
had, too.
downhouse, doghouse, outhouse, all that kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we use all the time, too. This movie starts off by committing one of my cardinal sins of movie making. So, of course, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. How does that work? I don't know. But you start with a voiceover that is 11 minutes long. That is insane that it works, that it's perfect. It's not like they have a lot to explain to an audience. It's just correct that there is an 11-minute starting voiceover before we even get to the opening credits of the movie.
The romance that they portray is right there with that cold opening to Up.
It is incredible, man. Like I love how great these two actors are by themselves and together in this movie. I gotta think that it's the Holly Hunter of it all that makes Nicolas Cage so great in this movie, because Nicolas Cage, this is his best performance in my opinion.
Yes.
And it's got to be because he's acting next to Holly Hunter, who is just fucking pitch perfect in this movie.
She's so good.
Because when I think Nicolas Cage is great, I think of restrained insanity, and I think this is the only time he actually ever did that.
Yes, and also he is big in this movie, but he's also doing a lot of little things too. I think I've stated before, one of my favorite moments in cinema ever is in this movie where he's getting chased. There's that big chase scene in the supermarket, the second supermarket.
Yeah.
And he turns a corner, he's getting away from the police, and the guy who's at like the manager's booth takes a giant shotgun and tries to shoot him. And the look he gives that guy who just tried to shoot him is one of the funniest moments in all of movies to me, because he's not like pissed or surprised. He's just really disappointed in that guy.
Come on, man. You couldn't let me get a little further on. You had to do this kind of thing.
It is an incredible moment. I don't know how he pulls it off, because Nicolas Cage is not your most subtle actor of all time, but he totally and utterly pulls that moment off.
The decision to use the whole pantyhose and not just one leg is just so good here.
God, the fact that the dogs, there's more and more dogs through that chase scene. Like there just becomes like, it starts with one dog and it ends up in the grocery store where there's like 15 dogs chasing him. So good.
I love it, man.
They shoot actions. They shoot action so well. This is a Sonnenfeld DP'd movie, so it looks perfect. You have all of this great camera work on top of the amazing script, on top of the actors, on top of the editing. It's just perfect.
Give the directors some credit here too. The Coen brothers, I believe, edited or helped edit Evil Dead 2, and they clearly borrowed some shots. They really picked up the value of the moving camera and the shaky cam. And, they got a few Sam Raimi tricks that I'm sure they passed on to Sonnenfeld and said, hey, this is what we want. And he figured out the Sonnenfeld way to do it, which is not a bad way to do things. Right. Where was he in his career at this point? This has to be one of his earlier jobs. It
is. It's his second movie, right? Third movie, maybe, because he does Blood Simple with them also, I believe. I'm right on that.
Makes me want to think he's part of like that same crew that came up together.
He was. I mean, there's
they're not getting a DP for hire necessarily at Blood Simple. They're going to get somebody they know.
Right. So, you've got your like Francis McDormand, Coen brothers, Sam Raimi, like all those people, they're all living in a house together in LA at this point.
Yeah.
For Blood Simple. I don't know if that's still happening during Raising Arizona, but it's definitely happening in Blood Simple. To get back to your point though about the camera movements of Raimi, there's a couple of big moments in here where it's like, well, that's clearly Raimi, which is all the Leonard Small stuff.
Yeah.
When you're, especially when you're at his point of view and the camera's just zooming into that house and it goes up the ladder and all that stuff. And it's like, well, that's Raimi all day.
Yeah. They did it, but
the Coen brothers love their literary references, and that's where Leonard Smalls comes from. Are you familiar with the
Just say it. What is it?
I don't know.
It's Lenny from George and Lenny, George Steinbeck's of Mice and Men.
Nice.
And it's Lenny Smalls, but they make it Leonard Smalls because he's didn't get shot in the back of the head and he grew up.
That's nice.
Oh, spoiler for the ending of Mice and Men. Sorry, guys.
For a 75-year-old fictional.
Never shot somebody else shoot my dog. I should have shot my own dog.
Let me tell you this, boys. I've never been so happy not to have read a book, and I don't have to read it now. It's been great.
One of my two favorite sci-fi fantasy novels are Catcher in the Rye and of Mice and Men. I got a depressed streak.
And keep a look on them, kids. I think we put you on a list when you get that duo in.
That
there,
is
don't we?
true. That is true. And somebody make sure John Lennon's still dead.
Mm-hmm.
When I really want to have a good laugh, I read The Grapes of Wrath. Okay, so back on target. But yeah, this movie.
He did it again, Adam, where he completely takes us off topic and then makes it seem like it's all
like
of us who are
it's your
doing
fault.
What I call it is I feel responsibility and I'm trying to make amends when I bring this back on topic. I don't see it as me trying to blame you guys.
I'm trying to right all my wrongs, okay? He's being
William
a hero
Faulkner
about it.
Also listed as an influence here from some of his Southern comedies. And I think the stated intention was to make this movie a send-up or a parody of screwball comedies. And what they did is they actually defined the art. Like they're trying to say this is, what if you took Airplane and you made it literary? And boy, if they didn't make this work with that dialogue.
I think this feels like a live action cartoon, this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a Woody Woodpecker cartoon?
More of like a Roadrunner and Coyote kind of, because there's so much, because he did this, because of this, then this happens. There's so much of that in this movie where like your actions have almost immediate consequences. Like I'm thinking of, again, not to really wail on this, but it is one of my favorite scenes in movies is the grocery store where the dogs are chasing him. He kind of like loses them down one of the aisles. He picks up the Huggies. The cop keeps trying to shoot him. He turns around, throws the Huggies at him, which makes the cop back up. There's a lady getting chased by these dogs. She runs the cop over with her cart. Like it's all consequences of immediate consequences of your actions.
I love it. That's slapstick. I mean, that's the pace is slapstick.
It's so good. And I got to tell you guys, I did a little bit of a deep dive because I'm so in the weeds for this movie. I needed to know other people's reactions. And so I wanted to see a documentary of the making of this movie. There isn't one. There was nothing, at least nothing on the internet that I could find.
Criterion Blu-ray. Let's make it happen, people.
Please, I would buy it in a second. But I'm looking around, and one of the most interesting reviews of this movie is when it first came out to the movie theater. Siskel and Ebert do a review of this movie, and it is fascinating because the Coen brothers, this is basically their third movie, and they just saw the really bad one, the one that they made with Sam Raimi. I can't even remember the name of that movie.
Crime Wave, for some reason, that turd gets hung around Raimi's neck more than theirs.
But which is a crime because they are just as responsible for that movie as Raimi is. But fresh in Siskel and Ebert's mind is Crime Wave, not Blood Simple. They both reference Blood Simple and how they like that movie, but Crime Wave had come out. So the next movie they see from these guys is Raising Arizona. And Siskel is talking about, weirdly, it's not the way you think it would go. Siskel is talking about how the characters are cartoonish and caricatures, not actual characters, which he's right about. But then he goes, but what absolutely saves this movie is the ending. This is one of the best endings to a movie I have ever seen. And I was like, that is one of the reasons why I love this movie so much, is that the last 15 minutes of this movie is one of the best endings to a movie you will ever see in your life. But then Ebert speaks up and he goes, I don't like this movie at all. He couldn't stand it. He couldn't stand it. And he's talking about how he doesn't believe a single thing that Nicolas Cage's character is saying. And he knows he can be a good actor because he's seen him be good in other things. Holly Hunter is woefully misused, he says in this movie. Like all of the things that he is so wrong-headed about. I'm sure that he has like a book or something or a list of things that he was wrong about in his initial review. This movie has got to be one of those movies on that list. It's got to be.
They did go back every now and then and do a little recidivism and stuff.
Right. Recidivism's the wrong word.
I was just rolling with it.
I know.
But they have gone back and changed some things every now and then. It's rare, but it's not wildly unheard of.
Am I the only one that thought Ebert looked more like a Gene than Siskel did?
I guess so. Yeah. Because whenever I think of Gene and Roger, I always think of those two first with those names.
Yes. It's like I flip and flop in my head. And for a while, I called them Gene and Siskel, which makes no sense, but that's
no.
I love those people where they're just like, here's a thing. It's like, that's not even remotely close.
But I'll tell you,
Adam, you've read that book, right? Opposable Thumbs. You read that book, or you listened to that book?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, the Siskel and Ebert, the Siskel and Ebert biography. I thought that you did.
No, I think it was called something. Was it? Was
no,
that
it's
the title?
Opposable Thumbs.
I guess I did. Yes, I did read that book. I've forgotten the title.
It's funny because now that I've read listened to, I did not read that one. Now that I've listened to that book, all I think about when I see Gene now is, oh, that guy's got a huge gambling problem. It's so funny the way that changes, man.
Oh man. So this movie has a whole lot about relationships in it.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to Hollywood relationships, nobody's going to find somebody who'll be as faithful to them as Sam McMurray is to that hair he's got. Like this is what, 1987 we decided? And
87.
he's still got that hair going strong, I think, in 99, 2000. The guy that plays his boss, Glenn.
No, I know Sam McMurray, man, because he holds a very unique distinction of basically being the Pete Best of The Simpsons. Because all of the actors on the Tracy Ullman show basically did voices for The Simpsons. So when they did the turnover to the full length cartoon, all of those voice actors carried over. It's just Tracy Ullman and Sam McMurray of the main cast of that show that isn't in The Simpsons, isn't doing a voice on The Simpsons. Huh. I can't even imagine what his every time The Simpsons comes up, he's just got to be like, that hurts. Gotta be.
Shouldn't be Sam Simon in the credits. It should be Sam McMurray.
Man, it stinks because I love Sam McMurray. I think that he's a really great character actor. I guess he's just not a voice guy, so that's probably why they didn't use him for The Simpsons.
My favorite role of his is a small one, but I love the Judd Apatow show, Freaks and Geeks, and he played Dr. Schweiber, who's a fun character there.
He's great on that. Yeah,
same exact haircut in 99 that he had in 87.
Nothing if not consistent. When you go back, there's just that picture of him on the wall, and they just match it up and go, "That's the one."
So, Adam, what'd you think of a baby-face William Forsythe here?
It's hilarious to see him all young and not as grizzled and stuff, and he's playing like. I mean, he's a criminal clearly, but he's a little more innocent than you would probably suspect.
A little. He's like a child.
Yeah. Yes. Well, especially like a William Forsythe who is just like who's constantly screaming and cursing at everyone, and just to
everything's
see him,
in gravel when he talks.
Just to see him here, just so lighthearted and stuff, and he plays off of Goodman so well that honestly, it's my favorite William Forsythe performance because it's so different from everything else that he does.
Mine too, man. Mine too. I totally agree with you. I have a friend who refused to watch Raising Arizona because he can't stand William Forsythe, and I convinced him to watch it because I was like, he is unrecognizable. Like it's him, but he has never played a character like that, like he did in this movie. And so he finally saw it, and he was like, unbelievable how like he's like, I love this movie so much. I was like, yes, I know. And to think that you spent 10 years of your life missing out on this movie because of William Forsythe.
Whoever made the wardrobe choice to put the blue Hawaiian shirt that was too small on him, bravo to you, sir or ma'am.
I love that all the criminals in the movie are identified by Hawaiian shirts. Like when you watch the marriage scene, one side, the people who were there for HI,
Yes.
all of them are wearing Hawaiian shirts, and on the right side, everyone's a cop. So good, man. So good.
The escape from prison when the snoats come up out of the mud is also one of my favorite scenes. It's like so much straight out of a Raimi-esque kind of production there, and then the way that John Goodman pulls William Forsythe out of the mud by an ankle. This is beautiful stuff.
The where they're born into the movie, literally.
Yeah.
So good, man. I mean, that's everybody in this movie, though, right? Like, I couldn't tell you 2 other movies that Trey Wilson is in. Like, I know he's in Bull Durham, but like, I can't think of another thing he's in. I'll always see him as Nathan Arizona.
And he's so good because, but like,
great.
when you think about it, like, this is in any other world, right? This could have been easily a Murray brother role.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You could have sliced any one of those in there, but like, he does bring something to this that, like, every time, because I think that whenever I see this, and I was just like, oh, this could be a Murray brother, but then you're like, I don't know, he's doing something really special here, and he's got a couple of moments that are fantastic when he gets to that point where he realizes, essentially in front of everybody, how much he actually loves his wife.
Yes,
it's kind of sweet.
I do love her
so beautiful. Yeah. And he even just goes like, and you can see him throwing off the sentimentality because he doesn't want other people to know. Yeah, he still wants to be tough Nathan Arizona.
He is very, very real, but for such a cartoon character of if my name ain't Nathan Arizona, he even says it to the cops at one point. But like,
his name isn't Nathan Arizona.
It's not even
the punchline. Yeah.
So
would you want to buy
hold on,
from
sir?
Painted
Hold
Hope?
on. Let me finish my thought, please, sir. Thank you. When they get to the point at the end of the movie where not only does he figure out in front of everybody that he loves his wife a lot, but he also has that moment with them where he's like, look, you guys, this is a really big life decision. You may want to sleep on this for a night. Like, he says it like a real person instead of the cartoon character that he's been for an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
I was just going to mention why he used the fake names, because nobody wanted to buy furniture from Painted Humphreys or whatever his name was.
Right. He also there's that great moment too where he realizes that they are the ones who stole the baby, and he's like, oh, you're the ones who stole Nathan Jr. Oh, and that's another thing too, is that they don't really know which baby it is that they stole. Yes. And Nathan Arizona doesn't really know which one it is either. God, that's so funny.
I love it when they're doing the herding kitten scene. The babies are escaping. Get me a toddler, hi.
I like the idea that, like, and this is, I guess this is my first time kind of thinking about it when watching it this go round. Because I was always thinking, like, what is he doing? Like, it's like he's test driving babies. He's like going, which one of these has kind of the best baby feel to it? Which one do I kind of connect with? Which one's the best one? Exactly. I was like, I never really put that together until this time where I'm like, oh, he's just test driving babies is what he's doing. Yeah. He's holding going like
the instruction book.
He even says to her, he's like, I got the best one. They're all good, but I got the best one.
He's an angel. I love, we were talking earlier about some subtle things that Nick Cage does. I love when his boss comes over and his children are just like taking a baseball bat and slamming it against the wall. Somebody writes fart in his wood paneling, and just the look over his face about how this moment of pure joy may not be everything he thought it would be. Fatherhood may be complex.
It's so good, man. And I like how he in that fight scene with John Goodman, when he scrapes his knuckles on the popcorn ceiling where he's about to like pile drive onto John Goodman, his reaction is so amazing. He starts, make no mistake about it though, like whenever you see William Forsythe, whenever you see Gail and Avell on screen, there's going to be a lot of screaming. Like those two characters, they should be in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's how much screaming they do in this movie.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of amazing, but the scene, the face he makes and the noise that comes out of Nicolas Cage when he scrapes his knuckles against the popcorn ceiling in that very, very small trailer. It kills me every time, man. So Bruce, you had said before that the thing that you noticed, that you noticed something this time that you hadn't noticed before. What was that thing?
I think that what I noticed this time that I hadn't noticed before was more related to the Leonard Smalls character and how, you and your love of dream sequences, you can watch the whole thing in, and I'm trying to see how much does he interact with other people. Is this just a metaphor for Nicolas Cage battling his own dark tendencies? Way more insight than you'd think you'd put into a screwball comedy, but coming from the Coens, I think it's worthy of just asking that question.
Right. He even asks Ed. He's like, "Oh, you see him too?" Like
that's right. Because he comes from a dream and he pictures him perfectly in the dream before he ever sees him in real life.
Yeah, he has like some sort of precog thing.
It's almost like he summoned him into the real world from his imagination.
Adam, did you notice anything in this run that you haven't noticed before?
This time I looked at a lot of production design and stuff. I looked at just
that baby room, man.
The art direction, room? It's everywhere. It's the baby's room. It's their house. It is.
Their house is disgusting, by the way. Not H.I. and Ed's. Yeah. I mean, the Arizona's house is gross.
But it's so much. It all looks so good and it looks real and lived in. But yet at the same time, there is an odd otherworldness to it, as there is with the entire film itself. It's like Sonnenfeld's cinematography is both kinetic and slow at the same time in many cases, and there's so many weird things where it's just like none of these things should all add up together, but they do. That's the weird part, because when you look at them at separate angles and stuff, you'd go, "Oh, I don't know. This movie has all of that stuff." You're like, "Yeah," but it works.
The two things that I took away this time when I watched it was. The one is very small, which is I never noticed before that when the cops show up, that one cop falls out of the car as they stop. I never noticed that before. And the second thing is more big picture stuff, which is I didn't realize just how much Breaking Bad took from Raising Arizona. Like when you watch this movie this time around, it's like, oh, they literally are like everything is wide angle lens. Even close-ups of people's faces is wide-angle lens like they do on Breaking Bad. Like, there's a lot of DNA of Breaking Bad from this show.
Did you notice in the background the first time the motorcycle cops show up?
Background of what?
I don't know, there's like a scene where there's a car has exploded or something, and then there's motorcycle cops in the background while there's something happening in the foreground. And they're wearing what really looks like California Highway Patrol instead of Arizona. And one of them's a tall white guy and the other one is a short Hispanic guy.
Oh, that's funny.
And that has to be such a Chips reference, but it's so deep in the background that's another thing I had never picked up on before was like, oh, we got Punch and John in the background there.
That's funny. I can't even say I saw that, but I'd be looking back for it again.
But Nicolas Cage did say the Coen brothers were difficult to work with, so that might be part of why he gave us a good performance.
Well, because he's a gift to work with, I'm sure.
That's funny because Lindsay asked me last night as we were watching this again if he'd ever worked with them again, and I told her, I said I don't think he has, and that would explain the Raising Arizona part of it.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but this is how it was described by Nicolas Cage. Is he would say, I've got a thought when High enters the room, I think he would do this instead. And they're like, you know what? That's a great idea. When you direct a movie, you should do it that way. Now do what we said. And that was kind of what the reply was to everything. They never disagreed with him. They just said, yeah, that's great, but don't do it that way.
That's amazing.
Well, here's the thing. I from the history of from everyone, I believe that story. I think that's 1,000% true. And that they're like, listen, we have an idea of what we want this thing to be. Thanks for your input and everything, but this is what we are doing here right now. And honestly, what you signed up for. So we're going to be doing this and you'll be doing that. And frankly, we got a fantastic performance out of it.
It's so specific too. Like their vision is so specific in this movie.
They said Tex Cobb was impossible. He's not an actor.
Yeah, well, that's what you hear from everybody about Tex Cobb.
Well, because he's a
boxer
face.
who got
But he's
a boxer that couldn't box anymore.
You just kind of set up the camera and hope eventually he does something that fits your narrative.
They got him well enough. He works well in this, and honestly, that's the great juxtaposition, because when he's sitting down and talking to Nathan Arizona, you don't expect he's not an upper crust Englishman or anything like that, but he does speak a little more erudite than you would imagine. This crazy held biker comes from and everything. And for somebody who doesn't do that kind of thing a lot, he did quite well in that particular scene.
Agreed. This is again. What else do you have to choose from really? But this is his best performance. I didn't realize it until I noticed it this time, is that he has very, his eyes say a whole lot. And I never realized that until this watch through.
It looks really good. I saw it on the Criterion channel here and everything, and it looks fantastic. I hope they can get a nice good upgrade to this and everything, because I wouldn't mind. Again, this is one of those things that even watching again, I was just like, you look at everything, tiny little bullcrap stuff, like when there's a shot that's only in there for a couple of seconds, where she's laying down in bed and he's talking to her. Just this shot of the nightstand thing that was just filled with a couple of books and a tissue thing, and it was just stuff that would be in a person's house. It was just little tiny junk like that, and it is everywhere. Especially their living room, all of that stuff. It is just all the pictures on the walls, and it is so good. And it just shows the immaculate attention to detail here that these guys have just continued to have over the years. But I think this is one of their high water marks, in my opinion.
Yeah, you guys remember when Pollock jokes were a thing? Because this movie reminded me.
Man, those Poles, they ain't got enough grief, I don't think. Come on.
Because it's so damn stupid. Oh, wait a minute.
They not bright.
It's weird, though. In the 80s, a whole bunch of people just got together and decided folks from Poland were not smart. And I have no idea why they made that decision. I'd never met a Polish person in my life, but I told Pollock jokes.
It's also the one thing that has been thankfully it's going out of favor, and only older people know those jokes at this point. But it's one of the few holdovers from when there were a lot of immigrants coming to the country, because you used to have your German guy who is a very specific way, and there was another one too.
Ooh, Irish. No, thank you.
Irish. So you have all three of those three, and really the only one that held over was Polish. I guess Irish for drinking.
Yeah, we got them for another thing.
Yeah, that's true. And Scottish people for being cheap. That's another one.
Italians are all in the mafia,
right? All of those are holdovers from immigrants. From the
never give a loan to a Welshman. That's what my grandpa told me.
Good old fashioned racism. Not even just old fashioned.
Right. Right.
If a Welshman tells you his name is Tommy, that man's man, his name isn't really Tommy. Wow, I don't know where we were going with that.
Let's
bring us back.
Let's talk about Goodman for a second here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, Goodman is a force of nature when he wants to be in your movie. Not meaning that he doesn't give 110%. I think he does basically for everything he does. But what I'm saying is that when he decides that he's going to turn it on and be a tornado in your movie, that is something to behold. And I think this is probably one of the best performances of John Goodman as Tornado. Anytime he's with
Ralph,
anytime he's with the Coen brothers, the Coen brothers really know how to use Goodman. And you think of him and Oh Brother, him and Barton Fink, he's just terrific in all three of those movies. But this one in particular, he is there's that one great line he has at the end of their story arc where H.I. has the baby back and he's running away with the baby. And Goodman says, "Hold on, H.I. He's our baby too." It's just so damn funny. And his read on it is perfect, where it's plaintive.
They keep leaving the baby on the top of the car.
You never leave a man behind. God, so good, man.
he rides a wild line because he has, like you said, when we're coming out of the mud here and everything, just screaming and just the goodmanness of it all at that point. And there's several of those within this, but this is why I think he is also so very singular in his performance in this. He is just so subtle in a lot of ways and has these fantastic line deliveries when he's trying to get, his thoughts and stuff across to high, where he's just like, hey, let me tell you a little something, X, Y, Z. Blah, blah, blah. Like, he's so damn good at delivering these lines. And again, everything is written like, like old, like Twain kind of stuff, where like you have this over the top dialogue that people don't actually say, but this whole movie
everyone's hyper literal. I mean, that's what makes it work.
There's so much poetry within this movie, not only within the actual, voice, because like the end is and beginning for that matter. There's a lot of kind of what are essentially poems, and they're absolutely just tear-jerkingly beautiful poems in this stupid Looney Tunes-esque comedy. It's kind of astounding how well this does all of these things at the exact same time.
Just his conversations with the parole board alone. Now, are you just telling us what we want to hear? No, I'm telling you the truth. Well, all we want to hear is the truth. Well, then I am just telling you what you want to hear. Well, we don't want you to tell us what we want to hear.
But also great indictment of the system there and everything of like, there's no reason that this man should be free. He is a hardened criminal who is going to continue to do these bad things. But just because he knows just enough to skate by the law of, I didn't have any ammo in it, so I technically wasn't, armed robbery because I couldn't hurt anybody. But them just going like, that's okay. I guess we're going to go let you out again. So it's perfect. But the thing that gets me, one of the other things that I think really registered with me this time was that relationship with them right off the bat while he's getting his picture taken the first time. You buy that 1000%. Nick Cage is just delivering. Like I don't think he's ever looked cooler. He has never looked cooler than when he is going in and giving this speech and everything. And like, he doesn't know this woman, but he knows deep down inside that there's something there and that he could do better. And that like every time he's coming back with her and everything, it is beautiful. And again, like you said, we do all of that crap in 11 minutes, man.
When he wants to fight her ex-boyfriend, that's great.
I whenever love the voice. Ready. I love the helpful voice every time HI shows back up for his mugshot towards Ed. Hey, don't forget to get his profile, Ed. Like stuff like that. It's so good, man. And then don't forget to get his fingerprints, Ed. Like just deep background voiceover. So amazing. But man, can we talk about the ending? The ending,
yes.
Like it gets me every single time. This ending, like it's beautiful and it's just perfect. And it starts with that last fight with Randall Tex Cobb, but then it goes into a dream sequence, which is one of my cardinal rules of why I should hate this movie. And it is one of my favorites. So who knows why things happen the way they do. But like
both your most and least favorite dream sequences, courtesy the Coen brothers.
Yes. True.
We established that in the Dinger Zone, folks. Got to go to Patreon.
When, when HI wins that fight against Randall Tex Cobb. And I can't, I still like, whenever I watch it, sometimes I think that he did it on purpose, that he pulled the pin. Sometimes I think that it was just accidental. It depends on how I'm watching the movie, I guess. Mm-hmm. But this last time around, it looks completely accidental that it happened, because I notice he looks down at his fingers and he's kind of surprised when he sees it, but he's not like, oh my gosh, like he's not, whatever that's called.
Maybe he's not thought about it,
indicating.
but it's like thought about it, but didn't really realize that was a thing that he could actually do. And then he did it and was like, what? I actually,
he's not indicating with his face that like, oh my gosh, I'm so surprised. Like he's not doing that, but he looks down, and then just because this character is such a good-hearted person, even though he's a criminal, he looks up at Randall Tex Cobb and he goes, I'm sorry.
I love it.
It's so good.
It wasn't a screw you. It wasn't a revenge line. It wasn't a Stallone line. It was just, oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Kaboom.
And then they give the baby back, and you have that really amazing scene, like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, where just how great Nathan Arizona is with HI and Ed in that scene. But then you hit the dream sequence, and the dream sequence is so good that, like, if you tried to recreate, you would never be able to recreate. Even the Coen brothers can't recreate that. That's how good that ending is.
It communicates just how unaware High is of his own profundity at times, because he has that beautiful ending, and then he goes, or Utah, and that's the end.
I have the line here. It's, this whole dream, was it wishful thinking? Was I just fleeing reality like I know I'm able to do? But me and Ed, we can be good too. And it seemed real. It seemed like us, and it seemed like our home. If not Arizona, then a land not too far away, where all parents are strong and wise and capable, and all children are happy and beloved. I don't know. Maybe it was Utah. Like, just
I love throwing Utah there at the end.
Unbelievable. Like, the writing of that line is fucking perfect.
Because it's ultimately just like, you know, kind of what this movie was aiming for and wanting to be the entire time, which is just like the story of this family, this couple that wants to start this family and be able to, you know, kind of just grow and everything like that, and how, like, life has said no, that's not a possibility for you right now, and the lengths that you would go to do that. And then, you know, as silly as it sounds, discovering yourself on the way. And they do. They realize it's like, hey, listen, this is what I'm supposed to. And they had that great conversation with Arizona and stuff. It's like, listen, it sucks, but, you know, you kind of got to go on. But, you know, you do have each other and stuff like that. But but just like, you know, that would go through HI and everything, would be that dream of the thing that he could still quite never have. Because at the end of the day, he is still kind of a criminal, and that is still kind of his bag and everything, of just kind of like just dreaming outside of the box to a thing that he's never going to actually be able to accomplish. But still, the heartedness to it, you can't deny that. It's just, it is beautiful.
Yeah. And like something that you hit on during that, what you were just saying, is that, like, you know, one of the themes of this movie is how hard it is for families to stay together. Like, you have to really, really fight to keep your family together sometimes. And it's funny because that theme in this movie is literally a physical theme of the movie. It's not even it's not even subtle. It's like bang you over the head. It's hard to keep your family together. It's really great, man.
Any other kind of like highlights that you? Oh, I want to say this. This is something this I saw. I can't remember. I can't believe this didn't pop out as me as much. But the considering that this was 1987, having that camera hooked on the side of that motorcycle, that's pretty boss in 1987.
I don't know how they did that. I'm guessing that they probably had to use a different stand, because you're not putting that. You're not hooking that camera onto the motorcycle.
Money says it was 16 millimeter, more like they were still kind of doing that back then. So I would say it was a lightweight.
Sam Raimi had hooked 16 millimeter up to dirt bikes for the Evil Dead 2, and the Coen brothers would have been familiar with the technique.
I see.
And if you got $6 million, you probably got a nice, better way to do it in 1987.
How are you not getting the shake in that? I guess it's just luck.
Part of it's gimbal, I would think. I don't really back
even
then,
with
I'm
the
not
gimbal
sure
though, you're going to get that. You're going to get the bounce.
Now there is a little bit of that when we're going down, when we're kind of going in and out of the buildings there, and that kind of last chase and stuff, where he's driving down that little spot there where there's a camera in front of him. We are doing quite a good bit of bouncing there. Now, granted, they were like in the church and on like just basically a street and everything with the sidecar camera and everything, so that probably led to a lot smoother stuff there.
On a street bike, once you get up to speed, you don't have as much bounce as you'd think. It'd be like filming out the window of a car, which you can do, and it looks pretty decent.
Also, to completely shift gears here, HI cellmate.
Oh, the old black guy?
Yeah, where we ate crawdad, and then when there was no crawdad, we ate sand.
You ate sand.
You ate sand? We ate sand. Like, there's something
no follow-up questions.
Great use of
I tried to make my own crawdad. Now my mom would put the water in the pan first, but I put the crawdad straight in the pan, and it popped like popcorn.
But they used like so many of the same shots and scenes again. Really good economic filmmaking storytelling here at this point, where we're just kind of using the same angles, going through the same sort of things, so you save yourself some money, but yet it delivers on this world You go when you go back to the jail, you remember the guy who's mopping the floor, you remember the old guy who's was telling his stories on. But I love how we're going back to the same bunk and we do the exact same thing again. That would never happen, but in this world it does, and it's kind of great.
Oh, you know what? I do have one more thing I want to talk about, which is that Macaulay Culkin, this is one of his favorite movies, Raising Arizona.
Oh, yeah?
And yes, it's literally one of his favorite movies. And he's talking about it. And he says, he's like, when I was younger, I loved the movie a ton. And one of my favorite scenes is when Holly Hunter is in the car and they're driving away with the baby, and she just breaks down crying. She goes, I just love him so much.
It's real because it feels real. Like if you were this woman who has gone through this thing, who wants nothing more in the world than to have a family, who has then been told that she is barren and now has, for whatever weird reason, a fleeting chance of having that family, and it's a nasty, ugly cry. So it feels so damn real. That's why it's so good, because you're just like, yep, that's what this person would do.
And to his point, he's like, I always thought that was over the top. And then, I had my baby, and I'm driving home from the hospital, and my wife did the exact same thing as we were driving home from the hospital to go home.
Yeah, I could see it. It makes nothing sense to me.
So good.
I'm just sitting there living with it with her. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't have your baby, but somehow this is getting me emotional, lady. Good job. Like, yeah, you're right. You do deserve that baby. Wait a minute. She did steal that baby. That's not a good thing.
God, I love this movie so much. I love it so much.
Is it time to ask the big question, Adam?
Yes, we do. Well, let's start going to ask our second big question here. And so we need to figure out, is Nick Cage doing it or not in this movie? I think the answer is clearly yes.
It's his best movie. It's his best performance in a movie is Raising Arizona, in my opinion.
I can't picture this movie being this good with anyone else.
No. Yeah, I agree. He's fantastic. It is. It's his best performance. It's just of the right level here and everything. You get a little of the Nick Cage craziness, but we also have two directors here that will be able to put his arm behind his back and make him do the right thing for a long enough period of time, and it absolutely works here. Yep. But if you did have to recast this movie, who would you do? And I don't know if you heard last week, Bruce, but we're doing a new one. If you can't, you have to cast it with somebody that's the opposite, or that you would think would be bad in that role. So Nick Cage, if we had to recast him, could you? And if you could, who would it be? And if you wouldn't,
Steven Seagal.
You'd recast him with Steven Seagal. All right, that's good enough.
You said bad, right?
Yeah, that's the opposite choice. Mm-hmm. Sean, anybody? Nick Cage?
What do you have? I have a guy, but I've got to look up his name. So
I had to think of like the right kind of era here and everything, kind of late 80s. And
mine is if they remake it.
Okay,
but go ahead.
But I would put in at this time Sam Neill. He's a good actor, but he does not belong in this role, and the movie changes drastically if you put him in there, and it falls apart and doesn't work. But that's the bad casting I have.
For me, if you're going to remake this movie, the only person who could pull this off is Jason Mantzoukas.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that, but now that you say it, I see it working.
He could, yeah. I mean, with the zany level here and everything, and Mantzoukas is another person, and I hope he never hears this. He's a really good actor.
Yeah,
he's a much better actor than I think a lot of people would probably give him credit for. There are moments where I can see it. I can see it in him. I'm like, there's a guy that can really act deep down inside that goofy exterior and everything. There's a real actor in there. I can see him.
I think he's a better actor than comedian, quite honestly.
Set it in Canada and use the Letterkenny guy.
The guy who plays Wayne?
Yeah.
The creator of the show?
Yeah.
Jared something?
I don't know his name. He's Shorzy to me.
He's just so Canadian. You know what I mean? Like, it's why it's
very ethnic people here too. They're so Southwestern.
It's true, but I mean that's what makes it work, right? Is that they feel Tex-Mex. These folks, like I can't imagine that Wayne from Letterkenny is playing that role. Like maybe he could be in Fargo, but like I couldn't imagine him in Raising Arizona.
I just feel the salsa when I watch this movie. All right, so all movies only come in two forms: art or fart. Bruce, Raising Arizona, art or fart for you, sir?
even though the word fart is featured prominently in this movie, always
Twice.
an extra star from me when something like that happens.
Has
This
its
is
own
art.
cutaway shot.
Yes, it's got a credit. The fart has a credit in this movie. But yes, this is art. This is, if fart was an art, this is art. I love it. They didn't. I don't think they accomplished a send up of screwball movies. I think they made a great comedy.
I like how gross that kid is when he's scribing that fart in there. He's just gross looking. You just
All
want
the
to like.
kids are gross, man. They got snot hanging out of their nose. They're filthy.
Like somebody
They're
just
wearing
get a
diapers.
rag and just wipe these kids up. God.
Oh, they're so awful, and it's the whole point. And it's great.
Sean?
Oh my god, this is art, man. This is one of my favorite movies, like top 5 movies of all time. Raising Arizona, I absolutely love. As I said in the Patreon episode, but by the way, if you want to check out our Patreon, you should. I said if I could make a movie, if I had the funds to make whatever movie I want, it would borrow greatly from Raising Arizona.
Yeah, this is one that I feel like if we lived in the world where we were still surfing around television stations and stuff, if this was on, you would stop and watch it wherever it would ended up laying. And like
I would,
yeah, I would that would definitely be the case for me. Thankfully, we have a world that we can just go and get this movie and just watch it as quickly as we want to here and everything. But it's so good. I enjoy it more every time I watch it, and I don't watch it nearly as much as I should, I feel like, in some cases. But it's quite good. Criterion, get on that, man. I want that 4K up in here because this one looked good. I feel like this is probably the Blu-ray scan of it if I was to venture a guess by looking just to. But you can go up. You can do it. So that is it, everybody. We're going to continue on our St. Nicholas Christmas Cage, the Christmas movies of Nicolas Cage. I got to get used to saying that one next week here. But in the meantime, Sean, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
Man, go to our YouTube channel and check out HMP. Adam's got some videos he's posting up there. You can listen to our podcast there. It's a good time. Check it out.
Good time by all. I think I've made $8 this week. It's been pretty sweet. I've been like, I'm gonna go. Oh, me. Look
That's
at
how
me.
you start. You start with
exactly.
your bucks, buddy.
You start with that thing. But again, thank you so much to everybody who has liked and subscribed and commented and all that good stuff. We really appreciate it, and it makes me feel as if I've done something worthy, and I appreciate you guys doing all that for me. Bruce, where can people find the best sauerkraut?
Probably at your local market. I'm not a sauerkraut fan. I mean,
the ballpark. Go to the ballpark.
I'm intimidated by the name.
You don't like the krauts. Yeah. We can completely understand that.
But you can go watch Werewolf Fighter on YouTube. It's a fun movie.
There you go. Check that out, everybody. Next week, we're going to be talking The Weatherman. This is a Nick Cage film that I feel like I've seen, but I don't think I've seen it. I'm not 1,000% on this one.
I've seen it. It's good.
It's archery.
It's kind of surprising. Like I saw this movie thinking like, oh man, it's going to be dog shit, and it's great. Not great. It's good. It's a good movie.
I remember seeing the trailers and stuff, and it's one of those. Did I see the trailers enough times where I think I saw the movie, or did I actually end up seeing it at some point?
It's kind of in your wheelhouse, man. It's a little depressing. Like you will enjoy it probably more.
Damn, I'm ready to crawl into a hole, baby. I've been there all this week. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for more St. Nicholas Cage, the Christmas movies of Nicolas Cage, with The Weatherman. For Sweet Sounds of Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Portrait, reminding you that the only difference between art and fart is an F.